Take a look at these two apples. Bet you can't tell which one's organic. I mean, they look identical to me, but proponents of buying organic produce will try to tell you that this non-organic apple is hazardous to your health. And here I thought apples were supposed to be good for you. Well, if you're confused over the whole idea of organic food, you're not alone. There's so much information out there that it's sometimes difficult to make sense of it all. Today, I will separate truth from hype in the organic produce debate, focusing on two issues that are continually raised: the use of pesticides and GMOs. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should buy organic produce. Instead, I'd like to give you the information necessary to make an informed decision for yourself. Now, before we get too far into the discussion, let's talk about what the term organic even means. The USDA's National Organic Program sets the standards that producers must meet in order to be considered organic. For example, they must commit to preserving natural resources and biodiversity and supporting animal health and welfare. More specifically, there are certain practices that are banned in organic farming. The first of these is irradiation. Irradiation is a process where packaged food is passed through a radiation chamber in order to kill bacteria and other pathogens. Also banned is the use of sewage sludge. This is a solid separated from treated wastewater, which is then applied to crops as fertilizer. Crops generally respond well to it, but studies have found hormones, fragrances, and drugs in soil that have been treated with sewage sludge. Synthetic fertilizers are also banned because they release nitrous oxide. According to the EPA's webpage on nitrous oxide, the gas accounted for about 6% of all U.S. greenhouse gas emissions from human activities in 2012. A full 75% of these were from agricultural activities. The NOP also bans the use of prohibited pesticides. Notice I said prohibited and not all. Organic does not mean pesticide-free. Lastly, the NOP has also banned the use of genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. Alright, now if you can get your mind off the sewage sludge for a couple minutes, I'd like to get into a couple of issues surrounding pesticides. As already indicated, the use of pesticides is permitted in organic farming, and its supporters will say that organic pesticides are better than dousing crops with chemicals. Well, that's partially true. Organic pesticides are allowed unless specifically prohibited, but there are still synthetic pesticides that are allowed in organic farming. And also, natural does not always mean safer. Let's take, for example, strychnine. It is natural in the sense that it is plant-derived. However, according to the CDC's website, facts about strychnine, exposure in humans causes muscle spasms and difficulty breathing and can lead to death. A 1996 EPA review also recognized that it's highly toxic to birds and small mammals. Even still, they've approved it for use underground to battle gophers. Strychnine is just one of the organic pesticides that is banned for use by the NOP because it is considered to be too dangerous. So, pesticides can be safe or toxic, whether organic or synthetic, but the NOP does deserve some credit here. Because of their commitment to the environment, they'll only allow the safest of pesticides to be used, regardless of how they're made. So now what about the claim you hear that organic food is just going to save the world from pesticides? Okay, a little far-fetched, but pesticide exposure is a valid concern. Repeated exposure has been linked to an increased risk of cancer, as well as neurodevelopmental deficits such as ADHD or autism. But the truth is that organic produce won't eliminate your exposure, but it can reduce it. Organic produce is shown to have lower levels of pesticide residue and is less likely to have multiple pesticide residues. Additionally, you can limit your exposure by washing your produce thoroughly under running water before use. Or you can consult guides such as the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen or Clean 15 list. They list produce that is shown to have the most and least amount of pesticide residue. They recommend that you buy organic when purchasing off the dirty list and not worry so much when purchasing off the clean list. I'll give each of you a copy of the 2015 list before you leave today so you can have them for your own reference. Lastly, let's talk about a topic that isn't quite as cut and dry, and that's GMOs. Farmers have been genetically modifying crops for millennia when they select seeds for desirable traits in the next generation. Modern technology kind of speeds up the same process when, say, a gene is blocked in a plant. People do get a bit put off, though, when creating GMOs involves crossing different species. Most wonder why science can't just leave well enough alone. Well, there are benefits to GMOs. They've allowed farmers to raise crops that are resistant to insects, herbicides, or diseases. And I do find it a bit ironic that the NOP has banned them, since they could potentially reduce the need for using chemicals on crops. But of course, nothing is perfect, and there are downsides to GMOs. Regulation is not where most people would like to see it, and the government does not require special labels on GMOs. Neither does a producer need special permissions before introducing a new GMO to the market, so long as it contains material that's already in the food supply that's considered safe. There are exceptions, though. As Elizabeth Marshall points out in her book High Tech Harvest, permission is required if the food is likely to cause reactions in allergic individuals, or if the engineering process has significantly altered the food's nutritional content. So they can't just throw out a tomato with a peanut gene or a fat-free avocado, but pretty much anything else that's fair game. There's also concern about what might happen if a GMO crosses with a wild cousin. We could, in theory, see weeds that are building resistances, or GMOs growing wild and becoming invasive. Fortunately, the risk of environmental damage in the U.S. is slim due to a lack of wild cousins. So it seems here that the debate is really an ethical one. Are scientists playing God? What will happen to traditional farming, and where's the responsibility to people with allergies? People really just want the right to know. If regulations were stricter, people would be able to choose or avoid GMOs based on their own personal beliefs. However, until this happens, GMOs will remain a frightening facet of modern farming. I hope that the information provided today has given you a better understanding of the issues surrounding the organic produce debate, and has left you wanting to seek out even more information on your own. Remember that knowledge is power. In this case, it's the power of knowing what's on or in the food you put in your body. My name is Nicole Mondelli, CST 100 Online, and this is my informative speech.